Hello, welcome to another live stream. Hopefully there's somebody out there, but if there's not, oh well, it doesn't really matter. I'll work away on my own. Hopefully someone makes it and we get a bit of crack. So tonight, as you can see, I intend to hopefully finish 3 more stone trolls. I've painted the first 3. There is a video up of how I did it and the colours I used. I actually had to go back and look at that video again to see the colours that I had chosen, because I haven't taken a physical note of them, but thankfully, thanks to YouTube, I do have on YouTube a list of the colours that I chose. So what I'm doing here, as you can see, I have already done my usual prime these white with white spray and then null-oiled them, but I haven't got around to doing my dry brush because I want to bring this base coat back to as white as possible, because as we know, speed paints and contrast paints like going over a white background. So just a matter of hitting these trolls with some white dry brushing. Trying to be reasonably light here because I want that darkness to stay in the recesses. It's not a hard job, anybody could do it, and I definitely recommend that anybody does try it. Anyone that wants to play Warhammer or even wants to learn how to paint. Very simple job. The dry brush, just make sure you get most of that paint out of that brush before you start flicking it over your models. Worst that can happen is you put too heavy a coat on. You block out some of the dark detail that you wanted to keep, which might involve you putting a bit more null-oil on, but you don't really even have to go down that road. The null-oil step is kind of optional. It's not a necessity, especially on models like this. It's just a step that I find adds a few percent to the overall model. Makes it look a few percent better than it otherwise would. And I'm happy with that, for all the time and effort that it takes. Trinda, good evening. Thank you for taking the time to hang out. Hopefully you're doing something tonight. Hopefully you've got something on the go. I do apologise that there hasn't been any live streams in the last few weeks. I've just been incredibly busy, as we all get, you know. I'm very fortunate that I don't rely on YouTube for any sort of income, because I would be starving to death if that was the case. But there are people who make a living doing this, but I'm not one of them. I do it, it's a hobby. These are the old stone trolls of yesteryear. They do look really good. I think they hold up really well. They're a bit small when you compare them to the likes of Age of Sigmar models. Some of the Age of Sigmar stuff is huge. Because it's more of a skirmish game, it doesn't really matter to Age of Sigmar, so they get away with it. And because they're not, some fanatics I'm doing tonight as well. Can't have units of goblins without fanatics. I have X and Squigburger. What a fantastic name. Um, these Fanatics are more recent models. They're not new by any means, but they're certainly, I've got some of the really old ones, which are tiny in comparison to these. But I thought I would knock these out of the park tonight as well, because they're going to be real simple to paint. Real simple colour scheme. Simple but hopefully effective. At least effective enough to where they look alright on the tabletop. I've been really bad, and I have fielded these Fanatics in 2 games now, unpainted. And I lost both those games quite badly. Well, actually, I had a game the night before last, and it went down to the wire. Unfortunately, quite a big unit on like Goblins ran off the table with 2 characters in the unit, and that cost me the game. But on a plus note, my giant did batter the skull of a Bretonnian lord on Pegasus. Thump with club, just laid him out in one swipe. I was very fortunate. But then the giant fell over to a unit of, it was Bretonnian flippin' peasants or something. With any of you guys have a Bretonnian army or know about the Bretonnians? This unit wasn't very good, but it beat the giant through rank bonuses and banner and stuff like that. Giant isn't great. It's very, very situational. I did the alternative attack with the giant, where it could stuff and bag. Any of you guys that have the current Warhammer rules will know that the giant has painting some starships tonight. Who is? You are? Hope so. Paint anything tonight. But yes, as I was saying, giant has been very hit and miss for me. I love the model. I have the old Marauder giant, as you know. Anyone who's watched the painting video will know. Thanks to GW re-releasing it, and I was fortunate enough to get a hold of the re-released Marauder giant. I wasn't particularly happy that he's still quite small. Definitely doesn't look as giant as he did back in the day, so I stuck him on a big rock just to raise him up a bit. What am I going to do first? I could get these wee Fanatics out of the way, couldn't I? Do them pretty quickly. So we will get our chosen goblin colour, goblin skin tone, which is going to be Ghillie Dew. Anybody who has seen speed painting videos, me painting goblins, will know I really like this colour for goblin skin tone. I shall see if I can zoom in here a bit, so that anybody misfortunate enough to watch this can at least see what I'm doing. Aren't they cool wee models? They really are. Full of character. And the joy of speed paint over the top of this white is it just flows on. It takes such little effort. I will probably hit these teeth, although I'm going to try not to because I've already hit them. Too late. If you can avoid hitting the teeth, you can save yourself a step. And I'm all about saving myself steps if I can do it. I'll hit those ears. So yeah, I haven't been live streaming for a few weeks, as you guys may or may not have noticed. Just life has got in the way, you know. Kind of sucks, but it happens to all of us. I'm hoping to get back to a regular, at least weekly live stream. trying to get stuff to paint that keeps you guys interested. I might have to start like running a poll or something. Dwarf list. Stephen, it was you who contacted me about printing me a dwarven army. That was a really kind offer, and I will take you up on it. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and look at an army. But really, any of the regular stuff I'm gonna need. You know, Longbeards, Ironbreakers, Dwarven Warriors, Rangers. You know, anything at all. I'm more than grateful to accept. It certainly will save me. It'll save me some money, and just like that horrible Simply Red song, money's too tight to mention at the minute. So if I can save a few bucks, I will more than happily take you up on it. And of course, I'll give you a shout out, and I'll direct people to your service. Anybody who's on tonight, just be aware that we do have the ability to have some stuff 3D printed for us. If you wish to take that option up, perhaps you just want different models. You see, I've hit that cloak, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to be painting a real dark colour over it, so I should get away with that. Yep, it's contacted by a very kind viewer who offered to. He runs a small 3D printing business. He has a lot of licensed miniatures that he's willing to supply at good prices. So hopefully some people will take him up on the offer. Now, what do you think? Do you think that, can you see that? Do you think that's a skin leg or a pants leg? That looks kind of skin to me. I'm going to paint that a skin tone. Yes, that's exactly what I'll do. I will work out what I need. At least to start with. I'm not going to get you to run off a whole big pile of stuff. That's very unfair. I wouldn't expect that at all. But I might get you to run me off a unit of something. You know, even a unit at a time. And obviously I'll have to cover shipping costs for you. I'm not sure where in the world you are. Are you UK based? Are you in the States? If you're in the States, it's going to cost a fortune for shipping. I'm not even sure what Europe is like these days to ship from and to. Well, I hope everyone's painting something. We've got some starships on the go tonight from Drinda. Try NDA. Whatever way that is supposed to be said. I will just abbreviate your name to whatever my Northern Irish version is. Hopefully it doesn't offend you. Oh, you can't even see this, can you? So I've been painting it outside the frame. Of course. Joys of live streaming. I really do enjoy this, actually. As I've said to you guys before, this is kind of like, this is the only hobby hangout time I get with people. So I kind of was a bit annoyed when I wasn't able to do it for a couple of weeks. Can't do that as a leg as well. Oh, you're in the UK, happy days. Well, happy days for us UK based folks. What the heck? heck was that fell over? You know what that was? I have a cupboard over there with a light in it, and the light is velcroed onto the top of the cupboard. It's a cupboard I use for, or used to use for airbrushing, and the light has just fallen off it. But it's velcro, so it'll go back on. But it did scare the crap out of me. The Rin rhymes with Rin and Trinda. Right, okay. I could well get anybody's name wrong. I won't get Russell Higgins' name wrong. Thankfully, because Russell has put his entire proper name in. Good evening, Russell. Happy days, you're doing Orc and Goblins. The more the merrier. Can never have too many greenskins running around. Highly recommend that you're very careful with your goblins. I lost the game the other night due to my goblins running off. So that's basically as simple as that for doing the skin tones on with Ghillie Dew on goblins, and I would do that for use that colour for any goblins, straight over the top of white. You don't need to worry about the null noil wash if you don't want to. I do add it. I think it adds something. Doesn't add a great deal, but it adds enough to justify it in my opinion. These brushes have actually lasted quite well considering the amount of abuse I've given them. They're synthetic. A company called ABC Brushes. Anyone in the UK should probably be familiar with them. They're on Facebook. They do have a Facebook page. Just follow their Facebook page to their website. And what you can do is what I do. I buy packs of seconds. And the seconds is always something stupid. Like, you see like that hairline crack in the paint on that brush? That means nothing to us as people who use brushes. It's just aesthetics. They might have some second, like a dent in the metal ferrule, or no end on the end of the brush, or something small, something simple. But it saves you a small fortune, and I buy them bulk, so I'll buy maybe 20 or 30 brushes at a time, and they'll do you for a couple of years. Well worth a look if anyone's looking for cheap, decent quality brushes. And they do packs. I buy their multi-packs. Their multi-packs come synthetic and pure sable, you know, like a mix. So you can pick and choose what you use and when you use it. For some reason I like synthetics. Maybe it's because you have to be kind of a wee bit more careful with sable, or I do anyway. Maybe it's just in my head. But I'm going to use Raging Sea to paint the bluey green colour on these guys, so they match the other three. And that's the only drawback to dropper bottles. The gunk that builds up around the top. Well, it's not even a major drawback, but you do have to clean them now and again at least. So I'm going to pick one of these guys and start painting them. And it's just basically pick an area and hit it with the colour. try and avoid the nails, but that's probably not going to happen. So it's a lovely colour, this. Quite a lot of speed paints are really nice colours. There are some that aren't great, but most of them are really nice. Army Painter do have somebody with good eyesight choosing their colours, their palettes. That's good news, definitely good news on another Orc and Goblin player. I'm looking forward to painting up some Dwarves as well. I have pretty much 2,000 points worth of Orcs and Goblins now, although I do want to do some Orcs before I'm happy that I've done enough videos for people to paint an army comfortably. If they paint everything that I've done, they can certainly field 2,000 points easy enough, but a fair amount of that's going to be in your Wyvern and your Giant. So not everyone's going to want to use a Wyvern and a Giant, although most people I would think are, because they're if nothing else, they're intimidating in the Orc army. Nobody's frightened of a bunch of goblins, even ones with fanatics. A lot of people will just ignore and run straight at you. Hello, hon. Good evening. Haven't forgot about Hero Quest, don't worry. Hopefully you're well. Yeah, over the next couple of weeks you're going to be seeing more Hero Quest content from me. I've also had thoughts of pulling out some Fire and Ice, a Song of Fire and Ice miniatures, but I don't know how they would go down with people. I have a Lannister army and I have a Free People's army, and they do need finished. Well, a lot of them do need completely painted from scratch. What I found with the game was I enjoyed it a lot, but it didn't stick too well over here. A lot of people don't appear to have enjoyed it that much. A lot of people tried it, but as I say, it didn't stick. I like the Hero Quest, it's a no-brainer. Anybody who's into anything Games Workshop should really be playing that game. They should really have played it. Certainly if they're my age, they will have played it. Or else they were born in a cave and have stayed there. Still don't have the latest expansion, but I do have some third party content for it coming up in the very near future. Hopefully interests people. Certainly interests me. As I say, because this channel is really, because I don't rely on it for anything financially, I can kind of do what I like. I think that's a big part of not being tied to anything in particular is actually really good. Of course we'd all like loads of money and contracts and sponsorships and all, but then you become corporate, don't you? Don't have to start shouting out things that I don't believe in. You just turn into a salesman, a sales rep. I've no interest in that. Yeah, I definitely think I will. The units are, if any of you who are unfamiliar with A Song of Ice and Fire, or Fire and Ice, or whatever way you want to say it, it's kind of like before the old world came back. That would have been your Warhammer Fantasy Battle. The unit sizes were nice because you only needed 12 miniatures for a unit. Awful bloody game. Anybody who has played it will know. Anybody who hasn't played it, very little stays on the table. Very little survives to the end of the game. Has a very interesting mechanic with characters. Characters can operate in like a council sort of thing, like a sub game going on. It's very interesting. I don't even know if it's still really going. I haven't kept up to date with it. Maybe some of you guys know. But it certainly will give me slightly different things to paint, throw paint on, give people ideas. That's all really I'm interested in, or what I am currently interested in anyway, is getting folks to put some colour on their models. For years, and I'm as guilty as anybody, for years I just bought a miniature, reluctantly glued it together, and played with my mates, my friends, and very few of them painted their models. And looking back, it was a disgrace. I had a couple of friends who took real pride in painting their models, but most people didn't bother, and that's okay. But there definitely is. There's a nice wee sense of achievement you get when you finish painting something and you stick it on the table. Even if you're taking it off 30 seconds later because it's been killed. No, they're the proper figures. I got quite heavily into it a couple of years back when it first came out. I bought a couple of starter sets, and the starter sets give you Lannisters and what do you call them? Bloody Northerners. What do you call them? Can't remember. But anyway, a buddy of mine took the Starks. A buddy of mine took the Starks and I took the Lannisters. And then when I seen the Free Peoples and the Giants, I just went, I have to have those. So I went down the Free Peoples route. I was hoping that this new series, I'm going to add a little bit of, you see what I do here. I'm going to add a bit of medium on a fresh side here. I'm going to mix this on the fly because I want these tones here on the arms to be lighter colour, but to be the same colour but lighter. Does that make sense? Hopefully it will in a minute. My blending skills are not what they used to be. That will dry slightly tone will be slightly lighter than the outside, and that's all I'm looking for. Try and scoop some of this paint up. Went a bit heavy on some of these. These are real easy to paint. Once you settle on your colours. Again, you don't need to choose the colours that I've chosen. I just like it. I like that colour, Raging Sea. They're just nice old models. A lot of people think that what I'm doing here is a travesty, and you should be layering these paints on. But I like to get things done, as you know. And we would like to get some, well, I think certainly on live streams I'll pull out some alternate brands of miniatures. I think it's more interesting for people. And it means I'm not running around all week going, what'll I paint this week? Because it could end up, I could spend the next flipping 6 weeks painting goblins, because you can never have enough. I mean, I've 40 painted now, but I could easily paint another 40. I'm not going to sit and make you guys watch me do it though. So I'll try to paint something different or something useful when I can. I will do a lot of HeroQuest stuff as well, live streaming, because there's a lot of it is going to repeat. And it needs done. I need to get it done. And all the techniques carry over into other armies, into other, even in the other genres, if you're doing sci-fi stuff. Painting scaly skin is scaly skin, no matter what it is. I mean, this could be a blue dragon. I would paint it exactly the same way. Yes, anything that has a lot of detail on it, the speed paints and contrast paints save you a lot of time. I mean, you can paint anything with them. I'm pretty convinced of that you can paint anything with them. But anything that has already got a lot of embossed detail, like these trolls, for example, that paint flows into all these wee nooks and crannies, creates its own shadowing and own shading, and it actually makes you look semi-talented. I mean, I can show my models. A lot of people comment on my models at the club I go to, and they say, that looks really nice. And I take that as a big compliment, but they don't know that I cut every corner I could think of, no way of painting it. Because, like most of us, I have a very limited amount of time where I can actually sit and do this. That was one of the reasons for live streaming, because I thought I can do this with you guys. And get stuff done. And hopefully you guys are getting stuff done, and we all get stuff done. I just wish it could be a bit more interactive. It would be nice to be able to chat to you properly. That'll maybe become an option at some point. But I would have to figure a lot of stuff out for that to occur. I'm very grateful to YouTube that they give an idiot like me, an imbecile like me, the ability to do these live streams. If I had to set up specific live streaming software, other than OBS, which took me weeks to figure out, and still, I'm still not using it up to anywhere near its full potential, but I get away with it. kind of. Looks far greener in the video than it does in the flesh. It was probably my lighting. I don't know why, but it is. No Dragonheart tonight. He must be busy. I see he's back making the odd video, which is nice to see. If none of you are aware of who I'm talking about, Dragonheart is a Welsh young lad from Wales. He's not that young, he's young, almost everybody's young to me. But he's Welsh and he was a streamer. He did a lot of Warhammer Total War. And then he got into the 3D hobby side of things. Really nice to see. I love to see new people. Love to hear of new people playing HeroQuest. Love to hear of new people playing Warhammer. Playing anything really that I'm interested in. Any sort of gaming. My local club, it's almost solely GW based stuff. For some reason, it just is what it is. It's just the stuff people see for some reason. I know there used to be like a Malifaux scene over here, and at one point War Machine was quite popular, and Hordes. Always like the look of Hordes. If any of you remember those. But it's always really been Games Workshop stuff. It would be really nice to see Space Crusade come back, wouldn't it, Hon? I'm sure you played that as much as I did when I was a kid. But I don't know if it ever will. I think it's very much a licensing issue with that. Which in reality it shouldn't be an issue, because all those old Space Crusade miniatures are long gone from Games Workshop lines. Long gone, all of them. And you would think somebody could make a deal with Games Workshop, because I tell you what, if somebody re-released Space Crusade, it would fly off the shelves. Okay, Vex, no problem. I will drop you an email, sir. Thank you very much for the offer. And I will be sure to let folks know that we have 3D printing capabilities. And that if they want anything printed, you're the man to come and see. Enjoy your work. Hopefully it is a work you enjoy. That's a really big part of any of you young guys who are thinking about careers, or anyone who's thinking of changing a career. I changed from being self-employed. Up until 2008 I was self-employed. Believe it or not, I made toy soldiers for a living. I co-ran a wargame business till 2008, and the fantastic market crash we had that I didn't think would affect. Oh, that was lucky. That I didn't think would affect the toy soldier industry, but it certainly affected me. Anyway, what I was getting at was I changed from being self-employed to working in the care industry. I now support people with autism, on the autism spectrum. It's what I do for a living, to earn a crust, and it's a very rewarding and fulfilling job. And if I have any advice for young people, it's do something that you enjoy doing. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't have to be working in care, but do something that you want to get out of bed and go and do, and you'll find your life is a lot easier. We've all had those jobs where you dreaded Monday morning and getting up and going to work. Oh really? Space Crew Wars? A Kickstarter? When's that? Is that currently live? Or has that been and gone? Or is that just in your head, hon? You thinking about doing it yourself? Hiya Jay. Autism is incredibly common. It's something that was never... When I was young, and I'm sure when most of you people were young, you don't really remember it being a thing, autism. It is incredibly common these days for some reason. I don't know whether there's something in the water, what we're being fed, whether there's just been underlying things that have never been diagnosed before. Probably a mixture of everything. But I highly recommend, if I can give you one piece of advice that you take throughout your life, it's find a job, because everyone needs a job unless you're blessed with a silver spoon in your mouth. We all have to earn a living. Earn that living the best, easiest, most enjoyable way you can. I mean, see people who do this for a living, YouTube, I take my hat off to them. It's like a feeding frenzy. I was up in my ex-wife's house a few nights ago, and she's really into collecting. She's animal mad, and she always has been. And she's into fish, and she watches a lot of YouTubers who do fish videos, like tropical fish and reef fish, things like that. And it's like some of the videos they come out with are preposterous, but it's all to get clicks and to get views, and that's a horrible way to be. You know, I'd rather keep this as a hobby and it to be of some use to people, and for me to get something out of it as well. I really do get enjoyment out of it, especially this live streaming. I mean, I'm sitting here talking to myself. My neighbours probably think, there's that nutcase talking to himself again. But I don't care. I'm really happy that you guys hang out with me, that I get to paint some models in company, a kind of company. If it was 20 years ago, I would be sitting here with a beer beside me. But I don't know, the older I've got, the less inclined to sit with a beer beside me I've got, for some reason. It's not because I'm anti-drinking, I'm not. I just don't feel the need to be doing it myself. I made a bit of a pig's ear of that, but it doesn't really matter. The joy of speed paints is, one of the joys of speed paints, apart from their coverage, I mean look at that for one coat, it's fantastic. One of the joys of speed paints, as you'll always hear me banging on about, is they go on so thin that you can paint over the top of them with white or another colour, and you don't lose any detail from whatever it is you're painting. So I'd just like to thank you people for being here with me. Hopefully I don't bore you too much. It's a Friday night and you should all be out enjoying yourselves, not sitting here with me. And there's somebody outside in their car with the music blasting. Hopefully you can't hear it. So there's no real pattern to painting these. Anybody who's doing orcs and goblins, I highly recommend you get some trolls, just for aesthetics purposes. If you want to be really competitive with an orc and goblin army, get yourself some chariots, boar chariots and boar boys. Plenty of them. The more the merrier. I think that's the way to go for competitive orc and goblin army. The YouTube algorithm was possibly changed in January. It definitely was. I started this channel back around then, and I noticed the first few videos now, my first videos are embarrassing. I've left them up just for posterity reasons, but some of them were really, really bad. But what I noticed was, even the really bad videos, I got a lot of subscriptions early on, and then overnight it stopped, pretty much stopped dead. So I know they changed something. I don't know why they changed things, but who knows why YouTube does stuff half the time. So anyway, back to these guys. And the next colour I'm going to do is the little rope belts around their waists. And I'm going to use good evening, Hon. Hopefully you, if you're out and about tonight, hopefully you enjoy yourself. If you're doing computer work, unfortunate, but I suppose it needs done. I changed my PC to a Mac, something I never thought I would do, but it has made my life a lot easier with regards to YouTube. Things on the Mac just work. There's still a lot of it I'm trying to get my head around, but it's almost like operating a big phone. Now there's a lot of it obviously that I don't know what I'm doing, but I don't really need to know what I'm doing with regards to a lot of it. That's good enough for the belt. Make sure you can see what I'm doing. The joy of this paint is, just like the speed paints, you can just throw it on. Just be reasonably careful. Don't need to be super careful. Doesn't really matter if you hit an area where you're of the cloak, because the cloak's going to be near black. So you won't see any slight mistakes you make. The nice thing about plastic figures is it's quite easy to glue them in whatever particular direction you want, and they tend to stay there as long as you're careful. And I can see some areas here that I've missed, but it's not a big deal. Very easy to go back in. So hopefully most of you folks have a paintbrush in your hand. Trinda's doing some spaceships. Which is good to hear. Yeah, quite like them. Nice wee models. That was a simple task. And I'm now on to, see the staining that those speed paints do on synthetic brushes. The brush used to be white. It tends to stay the colour that you're using. It doesn't matter how much I clean that. Short of getting the alcohol out, I could get the IPA alcohol out and fix it that way, but there's no point. What am I going to do? What I'm going to do... Get the ball and chain out of the way. Broadsword silver. I have a wet palette, but I haven't actually needed to use it since I started using speed paints. I find these wee cheap paint trays. I'm sure it doesn't matter where you are in the world, I'm sure you'll be able to pick one of these. Let me see, one of these here up very easily. They're cheap. I normally buy 2 or 3 at a time. They last you a couple of years and then just bin them, swap them out. They'll last you forever if you clean them regularly. Again, the joy of speed paint is you just throw the stuff on. It finds its own way around a miniature, as long as you're be careful around edges. And if it pulls up too much, you can either use a clean brush to dab it off, dab the excess off, or you can use the brush you're currently using and just paint another area and then go back in and soak that paint up that you want. Definitely, I think that's my favourite currently anyway. I think there's 1 or 2 metallics that I don't have from the range, the new speed paints range, but I do like that broadsword silver. Brush soap. Hello Tom. Years ago I used to use brush soap. I haven't got around to getting any since I really got back into painting again. But yeah, of course, especially if you use nice brushes, I have a tendency to use, they're not horrendous brushes, but they're not expensive either. So as with everything in life, the less you pay for it, the less you really care about what happens to it. It's an unfortunate side effect of Western life, I suppose. We're very disposable. And I'm as guilty of it as anybody. So what tends to happen is I'll just use a brush. I'll get a bunch more miniatures out of this brush, and then it'll be dead. And depending on how badly it dies, it'll either get turned into a glue brush, a dry brush, or if it's really bad, it just gets binned. But yes, I do have some really nice brushes, some Winsor Newtons, Series 7s, that I don't use because every time I go to open one and use it, I go, no, I'll save you for a special occasion. And I pull out one of these things. I suppose if I was what I would call an artist, there's some really, as you're all well aware, there are some really good painters on YouTube. Some people who treat this not as a hobby, but as, I don't know, a set of skills that they really want to develop. And some of them really do develop them to a very high level. I have no interest in developing my painting skills past giving me half decent miniatures to play war games with, or whatever game it happens to be. If I wanted to paint miniatures for a board game, which I have done with Hero Quest, for example, I just want the people I play Hero Quest with think that they look phenomenal. Now, you and I know as painters that I've cut every corner I could cut and that I have used speed paints and contrast paints, which some people think are cheating. I don't think at all they're cheating. I think they serve a very valid purpose. In fact, some of us wouldn't paint if we didn't have access to these paints. I tell you what way I would be painting if there was no speed paints and no contrast paints. I would be painting the way I did before speed paints and contrast paints. You've heard of slap chop? Well, about 25 years ago, I came up with slap chop. And again, it was me trying to make life as simple for myself as possible. But at the time, we didn't have speed paints or contrast paints, so I used inks. And mostly Citadel inks. They were actually pretty good. But my miniatures were all really bright and glossy because the inks dried really glossy back then. And then after that, I thought, right, gonna have to come up with a new way of painting here. This ink thing looks fine, but it's very bright. So I started it down a phase of doing a lot of historical stuff. So what I did was I picked a base colour and everything got painted with just a base colour, and then they all got a wash. When Citadel released, what was the wash called back in the day? You know exactly what I'm talking about. One of you'll remember the wash that Citadel released, and I used it almost exclusively. Everything I painted was covered in this stuff. It got a basic colour and then it got covered in this stuff. What was it called? What do you remember? It's going to annoy me now. I'm going to have to Google this. It wasn't Nuln Oil. It was before Nuln Oil. Nuln Oil's been around for years. Badab Black. No, it wasn't Badab Black. It was the other one. Although Badab Black was, yes, very heavily used by me as well. There was a brown, and you'll know it. But anyway, I've always looked for quick ways to paint things because painting isn't my hobby. Gaming is my hobby. I want to get stuff done and on a table, whether it's the brown. It was the brown one. But that black was the black. That's correct. Can't remember the name, but Devlin Mud, Roshan, happy days. It was Devlin Mud, and you couldn't buy enough of the stuff. And then Games Workshop changed the recipe, and everyone flipped their lid, me included. Oh, it was horrendous. But yeah, as I say, guys, I've always looked for the easiest way to put something on the table. Haven't always succeeded, but yep. Base coat, whatever block colours. You used one or two, three colours, and then you just Devlin mudded the crap out of it. And it dried, and it actually looked like somebody with talent. Well, speed paints and contrast paints are the new Devlin mud, as far as I'm concerned. They actually do a better job because they give you that kind of Devlin mud effect, but in the different colours. And because we now have so many different companies who make paints for us, some of them come up with some really good stuff. I mean, there's Army Painter have brought out the speed paints. There's Vallejo have given us express colour, and I haven't tried an awful lot of them, but I really do like this orc skin. I think it's really nice for orcs, funnily enough. I have another one here, which I haven't tried. Troll Green, which I'm going to try on my river trolls. I have a unit of river trolls, which I'll have to do a video for. But I want to do a bit of tidying up on these trolls. A little bit of tidying up, because I haven't been very neat when I painted them. So, a little bit of white, almost out of that white. I bought this, recommended to me, any of you know it? Pro Acryl, titanium white, supposed to be really good stuff. I don't like the bottle. I don't like this. See the way that works? Very messy, but it's supposed to be very good stuff. So I should really thin this paint down a bit, but it'll be fine. All I'm doing is hitting some areas that I don't want to be that bluey green colour. Very simple job. Devlin mud. Think about the recipe for Devlin mud, or you find a case of it somewhere, you could make a small fortune. Right. Yeah, there's some, as I said, there's some really good, phenomenal painters on YouTube. I really respect them for their artistic talent. I'm not one of them. I don't pretend to be. I'm just a guy that likes to play. But ideally, to play with stuff that's got a bit of colour on it, even if you haven't finished it. It's nice to sit down and play against somebody who has at least tried. Lester Bercy's Magic Wash, 100 times cheaper than Citadel washes. Never heard of it. Where do you acquire that? Is it on Amazon, or does he have his own site? Is it a dude making it in his shed? I'm all for cheaper ways of doing things. I know people say there's always that complaints about the price of things, and I would complain as much as anybody. Especially with things, people like Games Workshop raise their prices, and there's a financial crisis on, and they continue to raise their prices and come out with some rubbish about how they've tried to keep their prices down. A lot of people will defend them and say it's a luxury item, you don't have to buy it. You don't have to buy food either, but it kind of helps if you do. And I know that's a really bad analogy, but I suppose what I'm trying to say is everyone should have the right to enjoy a hobby. Shouldn't just be an elitist exclusive thing that only those with a good disposable income can afford. That's why I'm very pro legal 3D printing. Especially for games like Old World, where GW haven't even given most armies the ability to be fielded. And I was discussing with a few guys the other night. There's talk that the Old World has been incredibly popular, more popular than they thought it was going to be, which I'm really happy about. And they were talking about Age of Sigmar and how Scaventide hasn't been as popular as they thought it would be. I don't know if there's any truth in this or not. Yeah, that's the danger. The danger is they don't release stuff quick enough and people lose interest. It's really upsetting because there's no reason for all these games not to coexist. There's no reason for there not to be a proper resources put into the Old World, rather than this half-assed thing where they delete Beastmen from Age of Sigmar and then everyone in the Old World knows they're going to appear at some point. Good evening, no quality dioramas. If I was to make dioramas, they would be of no quality, so you're welcome. Where was I going there? Can't remember. Dwarves and GW and their lack of releases, and the fact that they've probably lost quite a lot of players. But on a plus note, Age of Sigmar, their Age of Sigmar sales figures for the last 6 months have definitely been padded, because, for example, I have bought quite a lot of Age of Sigmar stuff, never to play Age of Sigmar with it. but to put it on square bases. I'm going to be doing Ogre Kingdoms. You gotta love ogres. Can't not like ogres. But they're the old world, the old fantasy battle models, most of them. So again, I should have actually said what I was doing there quite probably. Pallid bone. And I use that for the skin tones on the bellies and the nails and this big bone in his hand. And it serves a purpose, this paint. It's a really useful colour. Any of you who have seen my Tomb Kings will know that I have used it extensively on the Tomb Kings. Now if I was doing vampire counts, I wouldn't use it, because I would want the vampire count skeletons to look paler, whiter. I would want them to look different, so I wouldn't use it on vampire counts if I did a vampire counts army. But I would have to come up with something else. Or I might actually use it as a base coat, but then I would give them probably a build up, a dry brush to white, or to close to white. Enjoyed painting the giant. I wasn't 100% certain what he was going to look like, but I was happy with the outcome, as I nearly always am with these speed paints and contrast paints. They nearly always give you a nice outcome. Sometimes when you're putting it on, you're going, oh, I'm not sure about that, what's that going to look like, and then it dries and it looks nice. Almost always. Do you need all 3 books? You don't really. You don't need the journals. The journals are nice to have. I haven't had a lot of use out of my journals, to be honest. I have both the Orc and Goblin journal and the Tomb Kings journal, but I'm not a tournament gamer, you know, I'm not a power gamer, so I'm not always looking for an edge. What I found with the journals was they give you a little bit of stuff. There's definitely a reason to buy them. The Orc and Goblin one gives you basically a troll army. It's not a full troll army, but you can take a lot of trolls in it if you wish. If you have the means to take a lot of trolls, what I would recommend is unless you've got very deep pockets, you just 3D print some or get some 3D printed for you. Of course, buy these old guys if you can. GW are selling them again, and they're not actually, if they have them in stock, they're not extortionately priced either. I was actually quite surprised, although they did put their prices up. Excuse me. They did put their prices up, so that may not still be the case, but I think they were £9 each, or £9.50 each, which isn't really extortionate when you think about the price of Games Workshop stuff. So A lot of these models hold up well, I think. I mean, these are donkeys years old, these trolls. I think they're 4th or 5th edition from memory. I mean, they're years old. But I still like them. Still think they're great models. I suppose, like the old goblins and the old dwarves, nice models don't die. You know, they'll always be nice models. At least that's the way I look at it. Of course, I'm not denying a lot of the Age of Sigmar stuff looks really good. But, and maybe this is just me, a lot of it looks really similar as well. I don't know if it's the moulding process or what it is, but for all the hype about some of it, I don't see the major quality improvement in a lot of it. Obviously not including the new Nagash and, well, new to me anyway, things like that. You definitely need the army list book, and somebody needs the rule book. You definitely need your army list book. These trolls are donkeys years old. They came from my shed. They're old metal ones. I put them on 3D printed bases that can take a magnet. You have to be careful with them because you drop them really easy. I have old river trolls as well. As I said, I'm going to be doing a bunch of those. I would like one of the new troll hags. You've seen those on, I think they're £65. I don't know what that is, and I don't know what that translates to when we go across the water. But they're expensive enough. I shall do some, if I can find it. What have I done with that colour? Snakebite leather for the little pouches around the waist. I'm going back and forward between fanatics and trolls here, by the way, guys, in case you haven't noticed. Yeah, they are golden oldies. I'm quite fortunate that I still have a bunch of old stuff in my shed, in storage, pretty much storage. It's been there for years. What I do regret is I had a bunch of dwarves and I got rid of them just before the re-release of the Old World. I eBayed them, which is quite upsetting with hindsight, but it is what it is. I didn't have the forethought. I always knew there was talk of the Old World, but I never actually thought it would happen. until it happened. Do we have any speculation on what's going to be the next army after the Dwarves? What would you guys like to see? Anybody waiting on anything? Anything here I want to paint with this paint? Could do a loincloth, couldn't I? Do a loincloth with this colour. Why not? See, they just flow too well. I'm thrilled with contrast paints and speed paints to make hacks like me look half decent. What that should be is confidence to people who are new to painting or who don't want to paint, but want to have painted figures but don't want to paint them. Just try and you'll find that you can do it. Do I have elves? In my shed I can tell you from memory, I have old white lions. I don't know if I would want to paint them. I think they're very old miniatures. I do have some shadow warriors. And I do have, from memory, I had a high elf bolt thrower or two. I think that was about it. I might have some more high elf stuff. Well, sword masters. Think of some sword masters. What I would like for a high elf army would be cavalry, and I have fought a high elf army twice. Same one, same guy. He won a tournament with it over here. Dave, really nice fella. Really nice guy. I'll be playing him again, hopefully. But he stuffed me twice with his high elves. He beat my Tomb Kings and then he beat my Orcs and Goblins. And you know what? I had a blast. It didn't matter. He was practicing for a tournament and I was just having fun. Yeah, I'll try and win, but not at any cost. And I won't fall out with anybody. I think I'll paint his shoes with this colour. Sandals. They're not even really sandals. It's more like, no. It's more groundwork. Happy enough with that. Did I do this guy? I did. Yeah, I would like to, the plan is, at least the plan currently is to have at least some painting videos up for every army. That's a big ask for me, but depends on time and ability to acquire miniatures and stuff like that. But the plan is to have some, at least the basics up for every army. I would like to get some dwarf videos done. As I have said to you guys, there's a very kind viewer who runs a small 3D printing business, and he's going to print me some Highlands miniatures, dwarves, if any of you have seen the Highlands miniatures, dwarves, they're really nice. So I look forward to receiving some of those, and I'll do some paint videos. And those colours will transfer between manufacturer. Straight copies, straight across. Their equivalent of a Ironbreaker, for example, will paint up exactly the same as GW's. Be heavily armoured dwarf. Guess what? My speed paint, metallic paints will get used extensively. It'd be very easy to paint a dwarf army. Especially as you won't have high numbers of models, because points wise they're quite expensive. But I will get official GW models as well, as and when I'm able to. But don't be tied down waiting on, especially waiting on official models being released. You know, someone who's waiting on the High Elves coming out could be waiting till this time next year, and still might not get them. So if you really want a High Elf army, my advice to you would be look and see what's available from other manufacturers. If you have to go with other manufacturers, go with them. Don't be put off by it. It's always nice to have official stuff. I'm as guilty of that as anybody. We all like official stuff. I mean, I've kept these old trolls. There's some more modern companies who make nicer looking trolls. You know, their models are nicer. But there's something nice about having these old GW official models in your army. Doesn't make your army any better. And it's probably a bad way to be. Shouldn't feel the need. At the end of the day, Games Workshop have given us the rule books, and they got a pretty penny for those rule books, so you shouldn't feel obligated. But yeah, it's nice to have official models if you're able to. And that's my rant over for the next 5 minutes. You can see I've went quite heavy with this. See there, where it's pulling up. Now that'll dry and just add like shading, but you can just pull it away and it'll wick away with the brush very easily if you think you've went too heavy. Time is it? 9:30. I've been keeping you guys for an hour and a half. I'll hang around for my usual 2 hours. Hopefully you stay with me. Anybody who can't, I totally understand. And I would like to thank each and every one of you for tuning in and sitting with me while I talk gibberish and splatter paint on some models. This is a very important time to me. I wish I got to do it more. Right, one more now. I could do the cloaks. That's a real simple job, get these fanatics done. I know a couple of people waiting on wood elves. Pointy paints. I give him some high elves. So I did some plastic high elves that I had that were left to me in a will strangely. Shows you what age I am. When people are leaving you stuff in wills and you're collecting, it's never a good thing. I would rather not have collected. Much rather not have collected. But it is what it is. What am I wanting? I'm wanting my colour that I use for cloaks, which is... I'm going to have to get another one of these wee trays. Tyrian Navy. Treading over old ground here. Anyone who's watched the Goblin videos will know this colour. But I think you should keep your colours the same. Personal thing, you don't have to. This looks very blue when it goes on, but it dries much darker. It's a real nice colour. And I could take the time and separate, paint that hood a different colour to the rest of the cloak, but I'm not going to, because I want it done. And I don't think the time that it'll take to do two different colours will actually make that much of a difference to the finished model. Same with his boots. I could paint his boots black, but I'm not going to. When this paint dries, it goes very dark. So you just, I get away with it. Just about. Couple of wee areas in these models I will leave. That wee Eye of Sauron thing, symbol I will leave. And I will paint it probably gold or silver. And the wee skull on the end of his cloak, I will paint it a different colour as well. So when he dries, he'll be a lot darker. And the nice thing is these will be done then, and they can go in with the rest of the already painted stuff as finished, or at least finished to a good enough standard where they can be played with, and hopefully they'll cause a bit more damage to the enemy instead of me. On their last outing they did absolutely nothing, that was my fault. The Bretonnian player was very cautious, which is something I'm not used to. So I didn't know when to release my fanatics. And what ended up happening was I didn't release the fanatics. The goblins that the fanatics were in failed a panic test and ran away. quite comical. But a waste of 50 points because there was 2 fanatics in each unit. And they're 25 points each. They probably wouldn't have changed the outcome of the game. But it would have been nice for them to have got out and swung around on their ball and chain. I know there's been a lot of debate around the FAQ and the fact that fanatics now spin on the spot on the roll of a hit on an artillery dice instead of moving on the small arrow. There's been a lot of debate about whether or not that's a good thing. I don't know what you guys think. I personally think it's neither good nor bad. It doesn't really make any difference. I think it represents them just spinning on the spot. They're still spinning around, and if you crash into them, you'd still take D6 strength 5 hits with a -3 saving throw. They're really good. Fanatics are really good. But they're as dangerous to you as they are to the enemy. Almost anyway. Not quite, but almost as dangerous to you. So Trinda, what about these spaceships? Are they near done? Isn't it Starfleet you're painting stuff for? Am I imagining that? My brain's telling me you said Starfleet the last time we were speaking. But I could have imagined it. I have been known to imagine things. I'd hope to have some music on in the background, but of course you're not allowed on YouTube. Which sucks, but it is what it is. I don't write the rules. It's just going to get all done with the same one colour. And it looks awful sloppy when you're painting it on, but it dries. It dries nice. What have I got? Almost. Good. I'll come back and finish their arms. There's a couple of areas on their arms that I've missed. And I'll do their teeth. I'll do eyeballs. Yeah, I'll probably do eyeballs. but they're not hard to paint. Checking. See if anyone's still with me. Yeah. Dwarves next, I think. I think it's going to have to be. I'll just stick to GWs, pretty much anyway. I might go off piste a little bit, but I'll stick to their release schedule. With regards to my videos, I think that would be the smartest thing to do. That's probably what people are going to be interested in. The latest army. So I'll have to look at picking up a box of the new dwarves at some point soon. I was definitely considering picking up the new battalion box. Well, it's quite expensive for what I would want it for, which is really just to paint, make a couple of videos. Yep, happy with that. The fanatics are dead on. They could be better, but they could also be worse. They're perfectly serviceable. Right. Now for stone clubs. And for stone I use occultist cloak. You can see that, I hope. Yeah, I'll have to look at the new dwarves before I decide completely on how I'm going to do it. But details are your friend, especially when it comes to armour. I've used too much paint there, but it's not a big deal. Now, what I am going to add to this paint is some water. But I'm going to be super uber professional and use clean water in an empty dropper bottle. Start with three drops of water. I've mixed too much of that. The idea behind this water is to make this paint flow better, make it lighter colour. I want it to be kind of a stone effect, and adding a bit of water to this might have added too much, but it's simple to it's going to be alright, I think. Not dries. Oh, wasn't very good out of camera. So it gives you kind of a stone effect. The dwarves, an awful lot of them are armour. So as long as you have some Broadsword silver. You really shouldn't have a problem painting dwarves. Star Trek, that's right. There really should have been an awful lot more. I suppose it's always been the same with IP games like Star Wars and Star Trek. They've never really been done to their full potential, have they? None of them have. I mean, they have some Star Wars Legion stuff. Apparently it's died a complete death, which is sad. And then there's another version of it they released, Shatterpoint or something. I may be making that up, but I think that's what it was called. One thing we're spoilt for choice as gamers. The problem is, when you find a game you like, will it still be around in 5 or 10 years? If it's not Warhammer 40k, or perhaps Age of Sigmar now, then it might not be. And that's the sad part. If it's not, well, if it's historical, it'll be around forever, but your problem with historical games is getting people to play them. They're very niche. Even more so than the fantasy battle games we play. What am I looking for? I'm looking for a rope colour, and I'm going to use Agora Students. That one there. And I'm going to use it to paint the rope that holds this stone to this big stone hammerhead. Again, you can be pretty sloppy with this. Try not to be too sloppy, but you don't need to panic. And the idea with these paints is to get them on as quickly as possible, as neatly as possible, but as quickly as possible as well. I want to get these things done. And they won't win any you'll not win any painting awards painting like me. But you will be able to put painted armies down. And if you're really concerned, if you're a real painter and you want to really learn how to paint, you can start out like this, and then as you improve, you can go back and add detail. Yeah, I had heard that Shatterpoint, the miniatures are bigger. Why the hell they did that? Who thought of that idea? Yeah, I've heard they're redoing Legions. They're going to redo the Stormtrooper models and the Rebels models, which is fine. I have a Rebel army. It really doesn't matter to me if they redo them. If the game was popular again over here, it was briefly popular for a while. There was a few people collected it. But for some reason, being sloppy, for some reason it died a death, which is annoying, because it's hard to get into something and for it to maintain and momentum. As I said, it seems to be, thankfully the old world is keeping up momentum, although GW are doing everything they can to bury it by not releasing armies, not releasing even journals, by releasing armies and not keeping the models in stock for any length of time whatsoever. And getting the cards, good luck with that. You end up having to print your own. It's bizarre. It's just a bizarre way of running a business, but it works for them. Their sales figures have just come out for 2023, and I think 35 million. Their profit is up 35 million. I'm pretty sure that was the number. So they're doing something right. I'm always dumbstruck by the decisions they make, but they always make money. So what do I know? Obviously nothing. Shatterpoint has jumped to 40mm figures. Wow, they're huge. So it's very much a skirmish game, and we're getting into the realms of role playing. It's that skirmishy. I haven't had a good look at Shatterpoint. I've seen it sitting. There's a local gaming shop that they carry almost everything, and they have a lot of Shatterpoint in, and a lot of Legion stuff. So maybe it's selling and I just don't see it. But the local gaming club I attend, all I see is GW games, whether it's Blood Bowl or there's a Necromunda League starting. There's a Blood Bowl League going. There's a few Age of Sigmar players. There's a lot of 40k players. There's some Horus Heresy players. There's some Old World players. It's all GW stuff though. I don't know why people can't see outside of the GW box, but they can't. I mean, I'm as guilty of it as anybody. But if somebody come out with a good game and people supported it, I would throw my weight behind it as well, no problem. Not that that is much weight, to be fair. Need to stop trying to drop that. Forgot to do your lips, buddy. So we'll have to come back in with these trolls just and add some wee details like eyeballs. A lot of highlight to the teeth. Just small stuff. But it's amazing what you get away with speed paints. Fingernails, forgot to do. One thing I do notice with speed paints is little white dots on areas that you've already painted. I almost always inevitably see little white dots. Easy to fix, but strange how very small areas don't take paint first time round. Or else I just miss them. It's quite possible that it's me just missing them. So I'll give some of these fanatics a little bit of gold on their Hoplite Gold. It's a nice colour. hoods. Not that there's anywhere to put paint. It's not going to be a lot. I can put it here. You've added ships to your fossil ships from the 80s. Well, the beauty of that is if it's only you, Trinda, playing, or if it's you and your buddies playing, it doesn't matter how old the ships are. In fact, it's cool that they're from the 80s. Paint this skull gold. Might be suitable, might not, might change that, we'll see. It's going to start out this colour. Again, I can see wee areas of white coming through that have I think gold's going to be alright. So you've noticed the little white dots? It's not just me then. It's a very strange phenomenon, the white dot phenomenon. I suppose you can't have everything with paint. It must be like a trait of speed paint, but it's a trait that I can very happily live with if that's the only trait I have to worry about. Hopefully you've got a few of those ships done tonight. Bases. Think about bases. Well, I'm happy with my progress on these. That's coming up to 2 hours, folks. I'm going to thank you all for bearing with me. I don't know if this has been of any use to you tonight. Hopefully it's give you a bit of camaraderie. Certainly I appreciate you being here. It helps me in my hobby time, the little hobby time I'm getting at the minute. It's nice to put paint on models and get them done. That'll be a unit of 6 trolls now finished, and the 4 fanatics that I need for the 2 20-man goblin units that I'm using, or I'm intending to use. Put my glasses on so I can see. 6 ships painted, plus a Void Street gang figure. Happy days. I forgot your painting Void stuff. You're a blast from the past, man. And I appreciate it very much. I wish I could see some of this stuff. If I ever get around to doing a Discord, I know people do Discord forum type server things. If I ever do get around to doing one, I'll get you guys to sign up and hopefully get to see some of these models that you've been painting. Especially it would be nice to see some of the live stuff you've done on live stream. And I'll throw them up here some live stream some night and embarrass you. But I appreciate it very much, and I hope you guys have a great weekend, and thank you very much. And I'm going to sign off now. I am actually knackered. I'm going to go make a cup of coffee and watch some rubbish on YouTube before going to bed. Good night, and I will see you guys in the next live stream, hopefully in the not too distant future.